This first important moment in which the Transregional Center for Democratic Studies, TCDS, and public seminar, which is PS, it rhymes together well. So we are launching, this is the first time that we have a shared joint event.
It's great to be here with both as the editor of the new online space for public discussion and deliberation public seminar, and kind of invite you to visit. It's www.publicseminar.org. We are recording this event, video recording, and I hope we have a wonderful discussion and trust actually that the discussion will continue virtually as well. But all that is kind of technical stuff. Krzysztof is a man that I've long admired and deeply respect, and it's fantastic to be here to greet him again and to again have a public discussion with him about his very exciting work.
Question to Krzysztof, and my first question to Krzysztof is, well, tell us how it happened that you, a theater person, theater director, actor, ended up in that, from a sizable, nice city in Western Poland, and ended up in the northeastern corner, marginalized place, unknown place, in 1990?
Yes. Thank you very much, Elżbieta.
This is working.
Yes. Thank you very much, Jeff, for bringing me again here to New School. Really, I feel at home in New School in New York. And my experience with this meeting is that it's always kind of follow-up what I love in the past time. Many of people I've met here during these meetings visited borderland. We cross our paths very often, so I hope the same will happen this time. Thinking and trying to answer your question about the beginning and how it happened, from today's point of view, I see it as a moment when borderland as a concept appeared many years ago. It was exactly the moment I felt a kind of insufficiency in what I was doing. So being a theater person in Gardzienice theater group in Poland, as an actor, as a person who at the same time was traveling to different parts of the world for kind of, we called it at that time expeditions to traditional communities which kept ancient rituals and traditions. So we were exploring, kind of singing rituals, gestures, dances, and incorporated into the avant-garde theater in the 70s and 80s. That is my background, in fact. Two things happened for me. That there was a moment when I felt that theater is not enough. And the second was that this intercultural exchange, or we would call it today, intercultural dialogue, was only just on the surface, initiating something, opening something, but finishing at the moment I wanted to continue. So what happened with theater is another story. Maybe we can talk about this later. I lost my trust and my engagement in theater as a theater person at that time. But what was very relevant at that moment, this feeling, of course it was intuition. I didn't have an answer what I should do and how. But this moment when you travel to the community and ask people to engage in work with you, and ask them to share with you some important for them things like memories, like stories, like art and traditions. So you initiated something, yes, like exchange. They gave you a lot, kind of potlatch you receive from the people. And then you spend with them a few days, you open some hope, promises and so on, and disappear. And never come back, usually. Because you are artist, because you are theater person. So because festivals are for you. Because your way of continuing this work is, already in this pattern of being a festival theater group, which we travel, from one place to another. And there was no tool, time, technique, anything to make us coming back and to make us continue to go deeply in that kind of relationship and culture. So it was like a calling for very strong, because these relationships I had with these people was very strong. And what we did really help us to build a bridge, in fact, which was engaging both sides, but there was no possibility for us, to keep it going, to continue, to develop it, to go deeply. So that's how the concept of Borderland started. This dream that I could. We organized in 1989. When transformation started in Poland and Central Eastern Europe. That time.
From saying those people who lived there all their lives.
For the first time, they said, "Oh, gypsy are coming," because it looked like gypsy caravan came to the town.
And then when you stayed a while, what did they say?
Maybe Jews.
Yeah. I knew the answer.
Yeah, that's why I asked that question. They must be Jews, right?
And this, because also the space we inhabited was a very center part of the city, former Jewish quarter, and we revitalized the synagogue, the yeshiva school, and Hebrew gymnasium, which are now our buildings of the center. So it was a very natural way for people to think that everybody goes back to the owners after communist collapse. So
private property is back,
yes.
So people came to claim it.
Monastery came to the Catholic Church back, so synagogue maybe.
Actually, let me ask. I know that lots of people know you, your work, and what Seine is. But perhaps you should describe a little, that it's a rich region and complicated nationally, religiously, ethnically.
Yes.
It's not so far from Ukraine, and the kinds of problems that are appearing in Ukraine are problems that are indigenous, are very much typical of that region. So I think a little bit description of the place, the meaning of the place, I think would be helpful for you.
Absolutely, because the reason we stayed and choose this place was not only that it was far east, but also this context of multicultural heritage of this region was very important for us. Still we have Lithuanians, Poles, rational believers. I don't know if you are familiar with this kind of Amish people we have in our borderland who escaped from Russia in the 18th century. And keeping very traditional way of living, and of course rich Jewish heritage, ruined after Holocaust. There are no Jews in our town living today.
But they are Lithuanians, aren't they?
Yeah, no, lots of
Less of. So very closely Belarusians, also Ukrainians, which were sent or were deported by communists after the war to the so-called ziemie odzyskane,
recovered territories.
So we have also them, Roma gypsies, and some traces of Tatars, Armenian people also. So kind of all Jerzy Stępowski, a great Polish borderland writer, would say old civilization. That's how he was calling this territory, which once created one culture, of different languages, religious traditions, and so on, destroyed. So it's like a post-genocide, post-Holocaust region with broken bridges, like a destroyed mosaic into different pieces. That was the situation we experienced from the beginning. Everything was separated in terms of, because of 20th century, people were learned to live in close communities rather and focus on the national separate identity and difference. That's how you could survive in the 20th century in the borderlands. That's all kind of what we call now borderland people, who are bridge builders, who are in between and trying to be like negotiators between different cultures of bridge builders, were losers somehow in 20th century. So that was the painful situation, especially in that borderland between Poles and Lithuanians. It was a local home war just after the First World War, when new national states were built after 1918. There was just a war about to which new national state the region of Seine will belong, Poland or Lithuania. So it was, not this kind of war that you have occupant and occupant disappeared after, yes, or you have an army coming and army is disappearing. Everybody stayed after the war, and everybody knew who was shooting to whom, and so on. So these memories were very strong, in the people's mind. So very tense borderland, and I would easily see that we can have a kind of a replica of the same situation as in former Yugoslavia, if not the work which was done by culture people just after Second World War. And this is the tradition we wanted from the beginning to refer to. I mean the tradition of so-called Paryska Kultura, Paris Culture magazine, which was published in Paris by Jerzy Giedroyć and his team, having on the board people like Miłosz Gombrowicz, Kołakowski, and many others.
A journal edited by the diaspora people who are in political exile and that kind of thing.
Very, very specific.
So there is this borderland that you are working on, and you are thinking about it, and you are trying to name and see it as a site of amazing or kind of unthinkable opportunities, the kind of the places on the edge, the creative edges, right? That things could happen. And in your very recent work, you are talking about two categories, and I'm kind of attracted to that, and I want you to talk a bit about it. One is related to borderlands, and you talk about the agon of borderland. And the second is something which I don't particularly like the way it sounds in English. We talked about it, but when you listen to him, you will understand what it is. The second category is the category of deep culture. So if you could talk with us about it, what does it mean, and how is this translated into what you are doing in Seine, but also how that can perhaps radiate, or how that radiates or might radiate to other borderlands. Because indeed, we have been much more concerned with the centers than with the edges, peripheries, provinces of borderlands.
Yes, in this broken bridges landscape, which I think is more and more I work in different parts of the world, I see that it's rather common situation for us everywhere. I don't know the place in the world where bridges were not broken before. So this work is mostly about rebuilding years ago or many years ago broken bridges. So our committees are always, with these memories of broken ties, of being betrayed, or some other tragic situations happen with otherness, with this neighbors we are living together with. So that's, I'm trying to do it, to take it as not only negative situation and context, but as something what can have a positive dimension and energy, because there's no illusion for me about living in peace and love in the borderlands. And if we create the illusions that we can come back to the situation when we will live without conflicts, tensions, and quarrels, and so on, it is very dangerous. Rather, so trying to answer the question which is very often raised to us: did you solve the conflict, or did you manage to overcome prejudices or stereotypes? I don't have answer yes. Yeah? We don't solve conflicts. In fact, we try to develop the art, the craft, which helps to live with conflicts, the whole community, to take it as a natural situation, and to try to have some positive possibilities from that, because the borderlands, we have two extremes, from one side you have borderlands in fire, yeah, that's a stereotypical view of the borderlands, and from another you can mythologize borderlands as a rich, peaceful, living together, and multiculturalism. So in the real life it is different. So it is like agon. Yes, it's like as a permanent situation. You are struggling with yourself and with the context you are living in. And this is what I like. In fact, this is the truth about, I think, the human nature. When a few days ago we were working in Newark with Rutgers University, and we've met people who are working in the organization youth field in Newark, the so-called difficult young people. I remember that during conversation with them, I've heard one guy standing up and saying, because the question was what we should do and how we should think about our life, he was standing up and saying, my wish is to be different tomorrow from what I'm today, and for better, of course the wish was. But I thought, what a universal wisdom of him, because I think this is what connects us all. Doesn't matter if you are difficult youth or rich people, or educated, or from all other contexts. I think each person has this situation, the humans, that is like crossing ourselves, from day to day life, not to take being as granted, but take becoming as granted. That's what agon is about, that you are just all the time trying to cross the limits, the courtyards, the borders you are defined, and that's create borderland.
So I've witnessed some of your work in this struggle and admired the work, and it would be very, very interesting to hear you describe what you're up to these days in this struggle. Like what's happening these days in Sejm.
In this new moment.
In this new moment, that's right.
We work.
An example, please.
I'm looking for just an example, a description, like that amazing theater piece of the young people. Say the Chronicles. Yeah. But that I know about that. I'd like to hear about something new. But if you want to talk about that, that's great too.
That was the thing about Sejm Chronicles, is about the performance who trying to explore the memory of community and trying to build kind of an umbrella or shelter for all people living in the community as a one story, common story, in contrary to the situation when each of community has separate stories. So we built a performance which somehow connected all people living today, but also living before in one theater performance, which is like now transmitted from generation to generation. So it's never ending performance. In fact, we play it now for 15 years.
Because there are new stories that you discover, new narratives that are coming in and so on, right?
He's not doing it justice.
No.
So it's actually performed by high school kids who actually research the history of their community and then find within themselves, because with guidance from the professional theater people who are indeed connected to the group, they actually reveal talents that are absolutely extraordinary.
That is ours somehow. So the work we try to do is like it was with synagogue before, how to make synagogue ours in the community, and to let our young people to say, this is our synagogue, yes, this is belonging to us. So the work we do with these ancient myths is exactly in that spirit, that we try to, and it's very easy, because this is something what it's amazing, but it's something what we remember as human beings, that something what happens here with this civilization we live. Greeks had this term gephyrophobia, which is a fear against the breach. That we started to feel something what was at the very beginning went wrong, with the meeting with the other. So the first broken bridge, which is a story about Argonauts and Medea, somehow Medea never died. There's no evidence of she as a goddess or the hero dying. Yeah? She went among us and disappeared, as a broken person, betrayed, by us. So the power of this myth is something what Homer was describing about the stories, that it's on the mouth of everybody. Yeah, in ancient world, pre-Trojan world. That's how Kirke is telling this story to Odysseus in Odyssea. The story which is on the mouth of everybody, so touching everybody really. And when we started to work from kids to the old people in our community on this myth, reading stories, reading mythology, but also seeing, Pasolini movie, Lars von Trier movie, inviting on Medea, and inviting different people, it became, our situation, our women, our borderland, our mothers, and our sins and so on. And of course, the question is how we do this work. How we do it in the concept of deep culture, because it's so it means that we just don't want to present it as a just performance, or just a piece of art as an exhibition. That's a problem we try to face and challenge with culture, is that this is like a stone taken out of the river, that we have culture and art, like something, you know, into the gallery, into the museum, into the Philharmony. You know, taking from environment,
space.
yeah. So the question for deep culture and for our work is how to come back with artistic activities into the whole environment, yeah, and to build back around the story, the whole natural environment. So what it means that the kolkhiz of Medea,
Which is that place from which Medea came to.
Yeah, the kingdom of sun, because Aietes was son of sun, the gods of sun, is our small homeland, salient villages. Yeah, and the question that the golden fleece was stolen from the community is a question of our community. Yes, we raise. We live in the communities without golden fleece somehow. Yeah, of course, it was stolen, you know, in different ways. Somebody today, I think we were talking about Zakopane, the culture situation. We have, you know, this very touristic place in Poland.
In Tatra Mountains.
Yeah.
Beautifully located.
Yeah. So the golden fleece was stolen because of tourism. You know, everything is on exhibition now in this place. Yes? Nothing natural. So there is no vital culture because tourism stole something what was authentic and deep for the whole community. Many reasons, wars, conflicts, situations happen that we live with culture as, you know, having it as a little bit alien thing from us, from the whole context and environment. So to come back with the story of Medea to the community is to coming back with storytelling. Yeah, so we have a workshop, a studio in this kolkhiz of storytelling. So we started again, to make stories to be told, you know, amongst the people and explore. Yeah? We need music for that, from the ground. So we work with very ancient sounds of Lithuanian tradition from our lands, tartinės, which are pre-Christian tradition of this land, to incorporate it to the story. We work with childhood of Medea, so the moment when the child is for the first time experiencing the otherness. The Bożena Schroeder, who directed the Sejne Chronicles, is having this wonderful now studio on working with kids on this first threshold when they cross the border with the otherness as a kid, as a child. We have the workshop of
So when they notice that
yes,
there is somebody who is not like them,
like a fat person in the classroom, yes, or speaking
like
other
what person? Fat.
yes,
Okay.
or speaking other language,
right.
yes, or when it happened, for the first time, because it is so decisive for our life, this first moment when we face the otherness and how it happened. If it is failure from the beginning, it defines the whole life we have. So we are touching this situation. We work with mask as an element of this story. So there is a whole studio of playing and making the otherness with the mask and with creating different masks. We have a apotheke, so the pharmacy, all kind of natural herbs and organic plants were used for healing, because as you mentioned, Medea was a healer. She was in this good term, sorcery, so that she knew how to heal, how to cure. And we have friends in Tbilisi, in Georgia, who now organize a museum of medicine in the name of Medea in Tbilisi. So there is a whole, so we explore this traditional way of curing body and so on, or making kitchen also at the same time, engaging doctors to this work from our region, and they are part of this work.
You mean physicians?
Physicians, yeah. We have the studio of sewing and making tapestry, which sewing. So which will also give this aspect of creating something in common for the whole community, so many people can do this one piece of tapestry, which will be the part of the story, and so on. So 13 studios around Medea in the local community, which, and for example, what is very important, it's something what Greeks call xenia, the hospitality. The problem with Jason and Medea is not because they were married. For Greeks, to marry barbarian woman was not law.
Somebody from outside the garden, yeah.
But he agreed to be a host of Medea, so he take the potlatch from her and gift of hospitality from there. So she offered him Xenia, and he betrayed it. So even for Greek, with barbarians, it was a crime somehow. The question of hospitality, it will be a very important part of the story. How we can make this community hospitable, but at the same time thinking that nobody will steal the golden flea, or something what is the mystery or treasure of this community. That means that after working like year, 2, 3, when you come to our place in 2, 3 years, we will invite you for this storytelling, so that you can be part of this story, which will last not just like performance lasts, but we plan that it will like 2 days and 1 night story. We will invite people to take part and be kind of a participant of the story we are creating, with people living around the place we are working.
I remember that when you were coming here, it was so important that you come that very spring, because the kids are going to the universities, and that would be their final moment to show that the work they did for so many years by interviewing and adding to that.
So thinking about you, for example, being invited to Sejny, to Krasnogruda, I'm thinking exactly together with people, and it's our common feeling, that you should not just jump for 2 hours for the performance, that we should create for you opportunity to stay longer.
Because it takes
This is an invitation.
it takes a very long time to get
To go there. People only once, because it's so far.
People who visit, such as me, have invested something significant. Especially if you're coming from Poland. If you come from Lithuania,
You can go to Vilnius, and it's easier.
You see, I recently, it's maybe a little bit aside our topic, but in fact it's kind of deep culture. I was invited by our forestmen, workers, leśnicy, to trace a very special bird, which is called głuszec, grass, yes, who lives in a very deep wood.
It's a flying creature, okay? Let's just make sure
Yes,
that you...
So I had to come in the middle of at the midnight. We had several hours to go there and to reach the moment of the dawn, of very dawn, because he is singing only for a short time on the borderland between night and day, and it's so it took us like 12 hours for the whole expedition, and to trace the bird, to find him, to hear in the all natural context and so on. And of course, I can have it in zoo. I can have
You can
a
see
bird,
it, yes,
the same bird. Yeah.
The same song.
And the
But the song maybe is difficult.
in a short time, yeah. But the whole context of what I should do, exploring and traveling and going and experience light, time, day and night and everything, it's part of the story. Yeah. Why I should cut you off, inviting you to our story of all this context. Yeah. So my thinking, and together with people, is just to find a way of deep culture that we can again be together, in something which is not on the stage, or just not a picture in the gallery, but
Medea is not just about a woman, but it's also about people. It's about migrations, right? And there was this story, I just asked you whether there was before or after, there was this real story that had happened on the Polish-Ukrainian border. Can you talk about it, and what kind of, in which way did you, or were you able to incorporate it into your, the explorations that you are talking about?
Which you mean?
About this Chechen movement.
The moment when, you know, there's a typical immigrant story, unfortunately typical, the woman of Chechnya with 3 kids trying to cross the EU border, which was between Poland and Ukraine, and because she was betrayed by the guides, she was lost in the forest.
The people who were smuggler, right? The people who smuggled them to.
And it was also the fact that behind the story was that they got this message that she is Muslim.
That she's Muslim.
Abandon her somehow in the forest. So she lost kids. Yeah,
they frozen to death.
Yes.
At night in the forest. 2 kids. It's a media story. That's why I was asking about.
And it was a case in our media, and I remember the newspaper who published a photo, not even of her face, but only of eyes of her, looking at us, and I immediately felt, you know, this the look of Medea, you know, as she's again looking at us. So this was this deep conviction I had from that moment of the eyes looking of a betrayed person at the very beginning, you know, of something. So when you try to build something like a bridge, metaphorically, and to do it honestly, you should go to the ground. Yes, you should go to the something what was on the source of the memory, not to avoid it somehow. So that's how we try, you know, to do it with Medea. By the way, the bridge will be the second pillar of this story of Medea. It was a long dream of us to build our own bridge finally.
A real bridge?
A real bridge.
Okay.
So. Which
from where to where?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. That's a question. So it, of course, the bridge will tell all the philosophy of bridge building, and for sure it will be not a ready bridge. So the vision we have of this bridge will be that it's not done. Yeah, that you should have a password or something you should know or gain, you know, to make these 2 towers, the bridge. That's how we work on that also.
I don't understand.
Yeah. So because
what do you mean? Yes.
You know,
do you? I don't know. I mean, tell us again. What do you mean password? Password to the bridge?
Mm-hmm. You see, okay. The Georg Simmel, which is familiar name for
sociologists.
He wrote a very interesting essay which is called Bridge.
Yes.
And the story is, and he's comparing door and bridge. Bridge for him is a closed structure, so done forever in the landscape. And the difference is that the door can be shut and open for him. But this is exactly for what for me is the bridge. That bridge is not done. That it could be open and closed. That there is a person or you know, like in Mostar, you know, you have a gatekeeper to the bridge. You know, you have two towers from both sides. You know, gating it and so on. So the question is, for me, the truth of the bridge is that it is not done. Yes, that you should make an effort. You should know something to cross. Yeah, to have it as a bridge. How we will put it as a construction, we will see. But by the way, next year we are organizing the village of bridge builders to build this bridge. So